Ladies and gentlemen, our honoree, Mayo Person of the Year, here he is, Mike Gibbons.
I have to do this. Earlier we heard about a prayer for people that didn't go to St. Ed's. I think we should have a prayer for the people that went to St. Ed's. But I don't want to take too much time. So I want to thank the board of the Mayo Society of Greater Cleveland for choosing me for this great honor. As I look at the past recipients of this award, I have to question their judgment a bit. I can't find myself, I seem to find myself a little bit unworthy to be listed among those people. So thanks again. When Jerry Quinn first mentioned this award to me, I was initially unwilling to be considered. And I believe an explanation of just why I was unwilling is in order. For the last several years, we've watched our country become increasingly polarized. We've divided ourselves into identity groups where the characteristic that makes one part of that identity group become more important than the qualities or the character of the individuals themselves. I believe strongly that we're all Americans, and that should be the only identity group of importance. So I could possibly be hypocritical if I accepted that award. I no longer believe that, and thank to Jerry Quinn and the memories of my mother for changing my mind. I've been blessed in life beyond my wildest dreams. My wife Diane has remained supportive of me as I took incredible risks in building a business. She's the kindest and most patient individual I've ever known. And believe me, I can test your patience. And without that support, I could never have succeeded. So thank you, Diane. Now, there's a movie called War of the Roses. And that was used against him in a situation where he said similar things on his deathbed. Diane has promised me, at least in the past, promised me no, he'll never do that. So. She's recorded it. I've been blessed with 5 incredible children who I cannot be prouder of. Each one is a person of character, and each are achieving incredible success in their own right. And 3 of them are here tonight, and I'd like to have them stand up. At first, my daughter Caitlin. Caitlin is a teacher in Westlake, and you might remember her husband. He played for the Cleveland Browns, Aaron Shea. Why don't you stand up here? My daughter Megan cannot be here. She had an important business conflict that prevented her from being here. This is a young woman that repeatedly told me she didn't want to do what I did, that I worked too much, I was always on the phone, I traveled too much. She and her family live in Chicago, where she's now achieved a senior financial role at one of the largest asset managers in the world, and she regularly commutes to Charlotte. So she didn't exactly follow what she had told me when she was young. My son Ryan is not here. Ryan is an aerospace engineer that flies a Navy helicopter. He's a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy. He's one of 5 people. Our helicopter pilot's just been asked to go back and retrain on the F-18. My son Connor is here. He's very bright. He's now with Baker and Hostetler as an associate. And my youngest is Mike Gibbons, another Mike. And Mike is an attorney at Franz Ward. I couldn't be prouder of these kids. I've been blessed with 5 grandchildren so far. The oldest is on a volleyball scholarship in North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Just played today in Virginia. And she could obviously not be here. But I do have two of them here. The other two are in Chicago. But I'd like my granddaughter Ireland, of all names, to stand up and say we'll be watching on the basketball court here in the near future. And my grandson Kenzie, who did about a 240-yard or 40-foot home run today in fall baseball. I think we're going to be, hopefully we can get him on the Indians. And I want to thank my brothers and sisters, my brother and my sisters for being here. My brother's over, my brother's here, my sister Pat and my sister Jackie and their husbands Tom Narducci and Rich Zazinski and Tracy, my sister-in-law. So thank you for being here. And I want to thank all my friends that have shown up. I really appreciate it, your support. So I was born on West 77th Street, and we lived next door to my mom's parents in the top of a double. And we attended St. Coleman's. My grandpa and my grandma were my best friends, and my grandfather made no bones about him being an part of the Irish-American identity group. I had accompanied him to the IA club up on Madison, and in fact, I pretty much accompanied him wherever he went. So at the age 2 through 6, I was fully indoctrinated into the Irish-American culture. Our family then moved to Parma, and we made it big. And I attended Holy Family Grade School, the biggest Catholic parish in the diocese, where I was among maybe 2 or 3 people that wore green on St. Patrick's Day. My mom's Irish heritage was very important to her, and she continued our training through those years. My dad was a high school wrestling coach and a teacher at John Marshall High School. And like many people in this country, I'm not 100% Irish. My dad was a mix of a number of things, but that was of zero importance to him. My dad's ethnicity, his politics, his worldview, and his life could only be defined by one word: wrestling. Our family was about sports, and the most important sport was wrestling. Our family friends were wrestling people, and they were a diverse group. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family without racism or anti-Semitism, because as long as those people were good wrestlers, it really didn't matter. I was one of the few, or maybe the only, Parma resident who regularly attended bar mitzvahs and socialized with African-American families because of wrestling. My dad never achieved a lot of financial success. Because to him, it just didn't matter. What mattered was winning the state wrestling championship. Consequently, he was always working when not coaching. He was the best man I've ever known. He worked at whatever he had to do to meet the family's need and still allowed himself the time to pursue his passion of wrestling. My dad's dad was in the construction business and was actually president of Local 310 in the 1950s. And my dad learned the concrete business from his dad. And after my dad retired from teaching, he started a waterproofing company called Jean's Waterproofing. And he did that until he was too old to do it. As late as my junior year in college, I thought I was going to follow my family into the construction business. I had worked for a concrete construction company in college as a laborer and picked up concrete finishing. I love the physical labor, and it was a great way to stay in shape for football. But my construction career was not to happen. Upon graduating from college, I earned a scholarship to business school. Quite a shock for somebody that didn't even know one businessman at the time. Part of that master's program at Case Western was the requirement of working on an internship. I was lucky enough to be offered an internship at McDonald & Company, you may remember that name, a large regional investment bank in Cleveland. And upon conclusion of the internship, I was offered a full-time job at McDonald by a guy named John O'Brien, a St. Ed's graduate. Yeah. And I have remained in business until this day. So in 1989, I decided to take what I had learned and started Brown, Gibbons, Lang & Company. I started in an office in Rocky River, Ohio, with a desk and a phone. Today that firm has offices across the U.S., and partners in 36 nations. We're considered one of the best and largest middle market investment banks in America. And I relate this story, yes, because I'm proud of what we accomplished, but there's a more important lesson for us all. I believe we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. We have brilliant founding fathers that no matter what their personal shortcomings were, as viewed by today's standards, devised a constitutional system that allowed this country to become the freest and wealthiest in world history. That system is devised by, yes, a group of old, white, gray men, has led the world out of poverty and been a force for peace and hope for billions of people. Every day we hear a call by a small but vocal group of Americans that this country must be radically transformed. We are told our system creates inequality, and we must ensure equity. We must change our system to achieve that equity. We're told our nation is systemically racist, and this racism must be extinguished. I reject this claim totally. I believe that any individual of any race that wants to work enough can improve his life substantially, his or her life substantially. The level of success achievable will be determined by the talents and determination of that individual. And it's our nation, the freedoms that we've been granted by being a citizen of this great nation, that allows us to pursue our ambitions. We cannot allow our nation to be transformed. Only in our great nation can a kid who grew up on West 77th and moved to Parma be able to become an investment banker and succeed in a business populated by the socially elite. One of the reasons I'm so proud of my Irish heritage is that as a group, we don't take ourselves too seriously. When have any of you ever heard an objection to the many stereotypes that have been attached to the Irish? I've never heard of one representative of the Irish community demand that Notre Dame stop using the Fighting Irish as their team moniker. Why would they? I remember the wakes I attended at Barry's funeral home when I was forbidden to go downstairs to the basement because the men were drinking down there. And I remember my Uncle Rich when he punched my Uncle Jack because I'm so slight from 7 years previous. We were the Fighting Irish. Grudges were never relinquished. We always have heard about the definition of Irish Alzheimer's. When an Irishman forgets everything but his grudges. My family has seen its share of alcoholism. To deny it's a problem among the Irish would be beyond ridiculous. They just eliminated the word squaw from the name of any geographic location in the United States. But have you ever heard anybody be canceled by using the word paddy wagon? It's all true, and yet it hasn't stopped anyone that is willing to work hard enough to achieve their dreams and maybe stay away from adopting that stereotypical behavior. As proof, just look at the list of the former recipients of this award. When my parents no longer had the expensive children, we began to take regular trips to Ireland. One of the memories I cherish most is a trip to Western Ireland with all 5 of our children and my parents. I love visiting Ireland. I serve as chairman of the board of an organization called Global M&A, our international partnership and investment banks. When I held the position of chairman of the board of owners, our corporate headquarters were in Dusseldorf, Germany. Under my direction, we changed our headquarters to Dublin. Beyond the substantial tax savings and reduction in legal costs, it has given me the opportunity to attend 4 board meetings a year in Dublin. Every trip is something I look forward to. And before I conclude, I'd like to make one additional point. I do believe that the luckiest Irish person in the world lives in the United States. I also believe that's true for every German, every African American, or every African, every Russian, and every nationality in the world. The freedoms we enjoy are second to none. The American spirit and attitude make this country great. When I think about that attitude, I always remember a story I was told by somebody not long ago. His father was an immigrant from Ireland, and he would always say, when he grew up in Ireland, he and his friends would look up at that big mansion on the top of the hill, and they would say, someday I'm going to get that guy. But when he moved to the United States, things were different. When looking at that mansion on the hill outside of their American hometown, now what he would hear from his American friends was, someday I'm going to be that guy. So thank you for this wonderful honor, and please have a great time this evening.
You know what he just said to me? That's an awful lot of beer to drink. It says Mayo Society of Greater Cleveland, Person of the Year 2022, Michael E. Gibbons. And I think Diane is going to put this on the bedstand. Beside the bed, right? No beer drinking out of it, Mike. We have a proclamation from Armand Budish, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, Mike, but it's congratulating you on being Mayo Person of the Year. There's one. Then there's one from the Cuyahoga County, from Cuyahoga. Again, I'm not going to read it. And it's signed by Patrick Cooney, the mayor. No, this is from Patrick Cooney, the mayor of Fairview Park. You know him. And this one is from the mayor of the city of Cleveland. So there you are. I want you to hang those in the bedroom tonight. Okay, I think, before I forget, we have a great raffle going on, but we're going to stop. But I'll let Colleen tell you about it. But first, I want to wind up here, and we want to get to the band as soon as we can. So, there's a proclamation from Tom Patton. He forgot it. That's what I thought.